What's going on, people? How's it going? I think we need some lamp power. Find any cities I'd like to move to? Not really. I've got to keep looking. I'm probably going to Monterey this week, and then maybe Reno and the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe over the weekend. Okay, so like this didn't work for some reason. Unless it magically has been fixed, which it probably hasn't. Nope. So this, let's go look at this. So this thing is like using a vtable, which is using a DXGI object vtable, which is using IUnknown vtable, oh. Right, so it should go here. It's probably something to do with the fact that we're going through pointers and then not pointers, but we'll check. Did I read Anathem? Yeah, I read that. It's got to be some years ago now. I mean, I would guess 2014, 2013. I thought it was all right. It got weird. There's this weird thing about that book. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but you know, it's sort of about a universe one step more toward the Platonic ideal than like ours, right? So it's supposed to be like a little bit more mathematical and less concrete. But then there's this whole half of the book where he does this like, you know, Cryptonomicon style or like, what do you call it? Baroque cycle style, like, we're going to go all the way across the planet by like traveling over the pole due to this weird political situation. I don't remember what it was. And like he tries to do that whole thing and like it doesn't, it's just really weird. like it doesn't really fit the book, and it doesn't really fit the universe. I guess he was doing that on purpose, but that part also felt kind of rushed. Like that should have taken like 3/4 of the book, given what was happening. I don't know. It was weird, but I don't remember it that well too. Let's get the cam going. People are complaining about the no camera, so let's fix that. Okay. I think we need to adjust the camera aim a little bit. Bring back the Moose Life camera. The Moose Life camera is only for playing Moose Life. It cannot be used at any other time. Have I seen Tenet yet? No. I kind of feel like it's, I don't know. I'm not that interested in seeing it. I mean, I don't know that much about it because I'm trying not to spoiler in case I do see it, but it doesn't seem that, I don't know. It doesn't seem that much like something I really want to see. We'll put it that way. But I could be wrong. Wait, we did just have a second of Moose Life there. Because I think my camera hookup is kind of dying, unfortunately. How is the socialism developing? I mean, I don't know because I've been gone. I imagine. So one thing that was good was they didn't pass the weird, crazy wealth tax law at the last second, like people thought they might. So there's, that gives me a little more time, I guess. I don't have to panic, but it's still not like while researching that, I found out some other laws that are definitely going to affect my company and my ability to run it that like already passed. So I do pretty much have to get out of California, or at least move the company out of California. So I don't know what's the best solution yet still. Have I seen Tenet yet? I literally answered that a second ago. It's a really important film. It doesn't seem like it. On rewatches, it's very good. Okay, well maybe that makes it worth seeing. The thing is, I don't want to get a terrible disease just to see a movie. So if they release a streaming version, I might see it. Is it still vogue to incorporate in Delaware? I think so, but actually what I heard the new hotness was South Dakota. So I might look at that. I mean, I might not mind living in South Dakota, honestly. Why not just leave the U.S.? Because everywhere else is worse. Right? Thought the new hotness was Texas. Yeah, it doesn't seem that enjoyable living in Texas to me, but I might be wrong. Come work for Unity in Denmark. Okay, A, no way in hell am I going to work for Unity. B, I mean, I've had fun in Denmark, but I wouldn't want to run a company in Denmark, and I wouldn't want to run a company in Europe, honestly. Mostly. Although people have been telling me Portugal isn't that bad. I don't actually know. Uh-oh. I'm coughing. I must have coronavirus. Do I actually think there'd be a place I truly enjoy? Yeah, I just don't know what it is. Switzerland is the only theoretical place you conceive of. The thing is, Swiss people are way too snobby, man. I can't deal. I said this on stream before, but they're like worse than the snobbiest Germans who are already pretty snobby. And like unjustifiably snobby, you know? That's my cultural generalization for the day. Which nobody will be angry about because Swiss people are generally white. Estonia seems good. Yeah, I want to go to Estonia. I've never been there, but now is not really the time to travel there. Language is hard and you can't move there. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, moving anywhere where I would have to learn a language to really integrate is not good. The thing that a lot of you guys don't understand is, like, I assume over half the audience here is in their 20s because that's just how these demographics tend to break down. Like, when you're 20 something, you can go somewhere and be in a new place and socialize and meet people and it all still works. But when you're in your 40s, in your late 40s like me, it doesn't work that way because people your age are not really socializing that much. And I don't know. There's some other parameters that maybe I don't really want to talk about them without thinking about it very heavily. But the point being, it's way harder to meet people generally, like new people, if you go into a new area where you don't know anybody. Way harder when you're in your 40s than when you're in your 20s. And so, like, moving somewhere where I didn't even know the language, didn't have shared culture with anybody and all that stuff, it's not that good of an idea. So that kind of rules out a lot of places. Not too many snobs in Denver. Socialize on Twitch. Do we hire people who can only work remotely? We didn't used to, but we're considering doing that now because just things are different. You've made 2 friends in the last 8 months you've been in Tokyo. Yeah. Well, did Casey not persuade me to move to a secret compound? If you mean his secret compound in Washington, no. I think Japan is its own special situation, though. Like, Japan is not that... My impression, again, you know, I haven't lived in Japan, but, like, socializing among coworkers happens in Japan, but, like, general socializing, something about the way things go there, like, that doesn't seem to happen very well. I don't know. And I don't even think that that's anything too rare. Like, I think the U.S. is going in that direction of becoming more Japan-like. But Japan's, like, been there for a while. Making friends is not simple anymore. Yeah, I think that's true as well. I think society globally has changed in a way that makes that hard. Move to Russia and become an alcoholic. I definitely saw some people drinking a lot of alcohol when I was there. That is true. There's likely to be a huge investment in tech in the UK post-Brexit. Yeah, the thing is, my company and the stuff that I do is very far from, quote, tech. Like, I I don't talk to any of these web people who live here in the Silicon Valley. I don't hang out with them. It's just what I do is too different. We don't have anything to talk about. Did anybody propose I move to France? France is easily the last country on the list of places that I would move. I mean, North Korea is below France. But yeah, France is very, 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 very far down the list. It's pretty nice there. Not if you run a company. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And by no real coincidence, France's economy is terrible and has been terrible for a long time. Web people smell like the past. I agree. It's a past. It's one of those things that where you can see that it's the past, even though it's going to take a long time for that to actually settle out. But yeah. Like, it's better than Belgium. I don't know anything about Belgium. Which country in the EU would I prefer? I don't know. Is Iceland in the EU? Like, the problem is EU. Like, I would stay away from the EU, broadly speaking. Is Estonia in the EU? You got to understand, I'm American. I don't know. I don't know the difference between the European Union and the Schengen zone and the European Economic Union and whatever the other things are. So France has 7th highest GDP. What is GDP per capita? Why would I stay away from the EU? Do I hate poor people in unions? I'm not a fan of things that would prevent me from running my business in the way that I need to make the games that I want to make. You know? That's why. EU is awful, but it seems like USA federal things are worse in many ways. Like, what kind of things do you mean? Give me an example. Give me an example. The Schengen area is that special economic zone in China. Basically, that's basically the same thing, yes. Yeah, I'm just super allergic to bureaucracy. I already have way too much bureaucracy to deal with in the US. The big thing that's terrible about the USA is healthcare, the lack of it. I agree with that, yeah. Well, I agree that what the USA is doing is approximately, well, we won't say it's the worst thing, but it's a bad solution, and it needs to go one way or the other. If you run a business in 3 EU countries and you say you can't, say you've had major headaches, bureaucracy depends on the country heavily. Maybe. I mean, I've just seen examples of some EU countries that were terrible. I'm not sure which of those rules map to the country and which ones the EU broadly is responsible for. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't take much threat of bureaucracy to get me not even to consider it, especially thinking of all the other factors. So my main concerns about EU is business kind of things, not necessarily quality of life. I mean, again, it depends. I would say that a lot of EU countries seem to have surprisingly low quality of life for supposed first world countries. But, you know, again, it's not like I've been everywhere, so some other places are probably really good. Are EU countries' taxes higher than US ones? Yeah, very clearly they are. You probably need an accountant, lawyer in any European country to run a greater than one person business. Do you not need that in the US? Not really. I mean, we have an accountant who we work with to file our taxes every year, but they're not an employee of the company, right? They do, you know, they work for like a week a year for us to file our taxes, and then that's that. Sweden is a capitalist paradise. I don't want to have to learn like Swiss German or whatever. Aren't many game companies in Sweden? Yeah, but they're mostly like, you know, mobile garbage game companies as far as I know. I'm not sure if there are any actual good game companies there. There might be. I might not be thinking of some. But like Supercell and that kind of stuff, I have no interest in. Zero. Below zero. I speak English in Sweden? Okay. Well. Paradox is in Sweden. All right. Well, that's a real game company. Satisfactory developers are in Sweden. Okay, that's 2. All right. Let's do some programming so that we don't just sit here and rat hole forever. I want to just investigate what is happening here. It might be that this error is actually correct for some reason, but it might not. All right, so I actually want to change. We're going to make this work, but then we're probably going to change the definition of safe release. Let's go look at that for a second. Like, we actually should be able to just have this one anyway. But like, we ought to be able to just use interface here, actually. We'll do that, but first we'll debug, because there may be a compiler bug here preventing this. Okay, so we want to break at this error message so we can track down did not match any of the possible overloads. hell of Visual Studio. So in Sweden, is it like English by default, or is it like just people get taught English in school? Because it still kind of sucks if you're like walking around on the street and everything's in German or whatever, right? I could see it potentially being English by default just because they had like, you know, people speaking Swiss German and Swiss French and then whatever the third language was. Oh, sorry. I meant Switzerland, not Sweden. We were talking about Switzerland first, and then we were talking about Sweden with regard to game companies. And then my wires got crossed. All right. Let's see. So we've got our error message, and that's fine. So really, we now want to, you know, there's always this problem where like, okay, I'm reproducing the problem, which is good. If you can't reproduce it, you can't fix it, probably. But now we need to go back to an earlier time in execution when this failed. And calling a procedure is a fairly involved situation. We want the second overload is the closer, but either of these actually ought to work. Okay, so we want to maybe break. Okay, hold on. Type check one overload. So if we break like here with on this particular procedure call, right? And we probably want the second one. So we want status overload cursor to be equal to 1. We're not going to put that in the breakpoint, but yeah. Okay. So we're just going to rerun. Okay. Did I accidentally remove my other breakpoint? What did I do? Yes, I did. Okay, so this is weird. I messed something up. This could just be Visual Studio failing. Oh, no, we already, okay. It said arguments were not matched, right? I can verify this. So let's, so it failed earlier in the thing, right? Arguments matched false. Dude, this interface sucks. Arguments matched false. So where does that get set? Here. So it failed sort arguments. That's weird. Okay, we'll check that. Maybe sort arguments does more than I remember. It probably does. Oh, because it solves polymorphism if you're polymorphic. Gotcha. Right, which is where this failure would be anyway. Okay, so this all makes sense. So we're probably going to end up stepping all the way down into the polymorphism solve. So this is still the first one, right? Index 0. So this part must be what's failing, actually. Right, here's the part that polymorphs. And actually, let's go to the second one because we actually wanted that. So this is the first one, overload cursor 0. Now we're at overload cursor 1. So this is failing, certainly. Well, let's see if it yields. Nope. So it failed. All right, let's do this again. I could have just set the breakpoint there, but I wasn't sure if there was maybe some state. Oh no. I still have it. Yeah, I still have it in the cut buffer. Yeah. Close. Okay. Index 0, index 1. We're going to step in there. No, well, not there. Not there. There. So we're initializing. We just make these data structures that we use for polymorphing. Call solve for matches. Non-looping. Okay. This is the simple polymorph solve. This is great. This is going to fail, probably. Right? We're going to say, oh, wait, true. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Oh, right, it's matching the type restriction. Okay, so duh. So let's talk about what's happening here. So here, we're passing an argument that is, pointer to $t/unknown. And when we did this check that types match, when we did, where was it? This, we were basically just checked as far as pointer to $t. The general type checker does not check this part. Should it? I don't know. We'll see. But for now, that happens outside here. So this is what's called an implementation test, right? And so here we say, does it pass the implementation test? And that's the part that's failing. That's not very surprising. It's just I haven't stepped through this code in a long time. Okay. So now this is going to be false, right? Yeah. So let's see why. And we're probably going to want to come back here. So we're going to put a breakpoint here for subsequent runs. All right. I gotta sneeze. Okay, great. So So this is just saying, okay, what's the type that we want, right? So it's IUnknown vtable, as you can see there in the very small print. So this is just the identifier, right? And then at some point earlier in compilation, we should have matched that identifier with an actual type, right? Okay. So if they match exactly, then it's trivially matching. They won't match exactly, right? But this is just an early out that lets us say, like, look, if they're exactly the same, don't worry about it. Okay. This one is going to be false. This case, so implementation test is weird. It does two different things. It's kind of overloaded, and there's no way to actually say which one you want syntactically as a user, so we just do both. One of them is the thing that you passed polymorphed from this thing, and the other one is the thing that you passed, sort of an object-oriented-ish relation from the thing, right? We don't do object orientation here, but there's this thing called using that you can use to emulate that kind of a structure. So there you go. We might actually, it might be better to break that into a separate thing, like a separate flag. All right, anyway, this is going to be false. Yeah. So we go here and we say find compatible anonymous member. Now this is also going to be false, but it should be true. But if I hit step, member is going to be false. Yeah. So actually, we really want our breakpoint here. And we can take off our earlier one that we put here. Okay, so let's go back here. And this could be crazy because this is this weird, DirectX crap that's like a 4-level deep thing. And it could be failing at any step of that link, possibly for a good reason. Maybe our code is, like our user level code is wrong. Okay. So this is going to be so annoying because check that types match is big and does a lot of stuff. So we are checking vtable, which is what we want to check. Okay. Oh, we might be failing because of the inability to insert a cat. I don't know. All right, let's see. So we just have to step through a bunch of stuff here. None of this is applicable. Okay, here though. No switchable expression. Yeah, see this do cast via using. We're only checking if there's a switchable expression. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay. So what we could do, so basically this would work. This would work if we're calling one level deep, because that would have been caught in find compatible anonymous member here, but when you have one of these that maps to another one that maps to another one, that probably used to work when I originally tested it, but at this point probably doesn't. So this is something that I broke at some point. Right, we're just going to verify. So we're at line 10094. Everyone remember that? Oh, yeah, we return false. So that's great. So we know our problem. Now, the thing is, I could solve this by doing the following, right? Instead of putting this up here, I could just put it down here and allow this. The problem is, we probably do want to catch legitimate cases from the user that involve like some there are some cases in code when you can insert a cast and some when you can't, and we probably whoops, I just spilled my thing. It's only a little bit, fortunately. There are some cases when you do legitimately want that not to match. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra variable about what we're actually doing here and what's allowed. And if that works, I mean, I'm a little bit sad to add more state variables, but if that works, you know, we'll just comment it and so forth. Okay. So we're going to say if switchable expression given or evaluating implementation test. Actually, all right, we'll put the no check in here because we're going to need to put this on the typer. Okay, and then we need to set this. All right. Wait, is this a method on typer? What? Huh. Okay, let's put this here. What? Okay, who did we call then? Is polymorph ancestor find compatible anonymous member? All right. Okay, we're going to put it here. We're going to set this to true and defer, setting it back. So we're just making a little stack on the stack. I heard you like stacks, so I made a stack on your stack so you can stack on your stack while you stack. All right. So we want to go debug. That didn't matter at all, which surprises me. Well, I don't think that should have messed up our serial number. Oh, it might. Let's see. Nope. Okay. The evaluating implementation test is true. Wait, what? Okay. Wait, hold on. Sometimes I confuse myself, stepping too fast. Find compatible anonymous member. All right, so we were in the right place. So we do this, and we call check that types match here. And we got to go way down toward the bottom. This is not even the right one. Okay. So wait, we put this statement right in passes implementation test, which shouldn't get recursed into, so this is fine. Evaluating implementation test is true. Oh geez, I was stupid. Guys, I can't program. I simply can't program. We want to return true either way. That was the whole point of doing this. It's just we don't want to insert the cast, which is what this does, right? So, ta-da! All right, let's make some more stuff with the debug compiler. Because we might have broken something. Probably not, but maybe. How's it going, everybody? Hope you liked me muttering to myself. We use stacks every day. That is true. We do use stacks every day. What was that? Message exporter still had 999 deferred messages warning. That is something that we also need to fix. So actually, let me put that. Okay. Fixed polymorph implementation tests not working on stuff. That has multiple levels of using, such as calling safe release on IDHQL factory. But also, inheritance is garbage, so we want to see what we could do there anyway. So really, instead of all this stuff, oh yeah, see this was, I put this here and said, you know, so this really shouldn't be necessary at all now, but honestly, we want to do this. Like that. I just changed that in the middle of running the test, so hopefully I didn't break something. Okay. That seems, let's look at this too. Like, I don't know what the deal is there. All right, so, well, let's just see. Let's just see if we could build the game anyway. How about our little test program here? Unresolved polymorphism due to a compiler bug. Well, that gives me something new to work on. Because this declaration doesn't match. Well, let's see. Maybe it's not due to a compiler bug. Maybe it's actually... Let's take a look. So interface is pretty new. All right, so this goes to object vtable. This goes to IUnknown vtable. Right, which is defined in Windows, right? I mean, that ought to work. It's itself. So why doesn't it match? Okay. Okay, here's what we'll do. Let's compartmentalize this. There's no reason, well, no reason to hold ourselves back. Let's just try this version, which should work. Interesting. Okay. We actually have multiple things. The reason also is I haven't written my big comment yet that I promised to make. So there's that. So I want to write that big comment and check it in, and then we'll start messing with these things. What are we going to do? We're going to like streamline safe release down to just IUnknown. Actually, it's really, this one is the one that's wrong, honestly. Although, yeah, it should just be this one. But we're going to check in first and then mess with that. Okay, so let's just try the release compiler and make sure it still works. You hear comments like, we have 50 years of proof we can't handle pointers all the time. Is there any truth to them? What I would say about that is that there is definitely a school of thought that you can't handle pointers. I look at the software written by those people and I'm extremely unimpressed by it. Whereas all the impressive software is written by people who use pointers. That's just facts, man. That is just facts. Now that might not be completely causal, but you know, it's rude to point. Yeah, well, my programs are very, very, very rude then. Okay, so that's all still running, and that's great. So I promised to write a comment, so I've got to do that, and I've got to say, we needed, just for one case, there are a couple of other state variables like this, like the flags about whether we are polymorph matching. It's possible that we could fit all of these into a flag word and make that be a procedure parameter so we don't have to deal with weird stuff like this. Okay, that's all. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. So let's just verify that I didn't goof. Fix. Check type description. Okay, you know what we also need to do? We need to make a test case for that later. But we're still going to mess with it first, right? So we want that. Okay, so now I think we just want the second one there, this one, because some structs use IUnknown vtable directly. Although maybe they should just do IUnknown, like, I don't freaking know. It does seem like the correct thing is to make them do IUnknown. Yeah, so our test program compiles. Well, that's no surprise because this is the one that it was matching, but so but like that seems very inconsistent to me. Like, why? Oh, because of the frickin' GUIDs. Oh, God. So Ignacio was doing this thing where he puts the UUID here. Right? That's fine. I guess. Like, hey, if you want to do polymorphic stuff or whatever, you can get at the UUID of the thing without having to pay a runtime cost. Great. The problem is IUnknown has its own UUID, and if you're using it, then you pull that, and then you have a name conflict where you have multiple UUIDs. Now, you should be able to say this or whatever, right? I just never implemented that. So you can't say don't bring in the name UUID. So we still need both of these, but I'm going to update, well, we may not by the end of the day, but for right this second, we need both of these. We need the IUnknown vtable version because stuff like dxvi factory, like DXGI factory. What are we trying to say about that? Stuff like DXGI factory can't use a known directly because we haven't implemented except for using yet, so this can cause conflicts in other. Now that said, yeah. Okay. So we've updated that comment. That's great. I'm going to heat up some tea. Are there any questions about all this random babbling that I am doing right now? Is there a video about keyboard and editor setup? Those are like the least important things. What will be the preferred debugging solution? Whatever you want. How many tests do I have? I do not know. Any tips for coping with the programming industry all being about OO paradigms? I mean, a significant portion of it isn't, so find that portion and try to work there. chill out for a second and not let the tea oversteep. And then we will pour it, and then we will proceed to figuring out why when we try to use interface there that it doesn't work. It really should. Guess there's lots of new people in chat. Yeah, I haven't streamed very much over the past month, I guess, right? Certainly the subscriber count is way down, and that usually happens when I take a break from high density streaming. Sometimes I stream every day, sometimes I do not stream every day. No new game has caught my eye. No, I mean, really, nobody really makes games that are good anymore, as far as I can tell. I mean, Among Us looked a little bit fun, but like, I don't have 10 friends to play with. And also, it looks fun, but it also, like, all the little tasks in there should be a lot more interesting than they are and should feed back into the main gameplay more than they do. So me being a picky person about game design, I'm like, yeah, I see the better version of Among Us, right? You only need 9. Yeah, good point. Do I know why there's no more Handmade Hero new episodes? Yeah, Casey moved, and so all his setup was not set up, but he said he's going to start soon again at some point. Is something like Hard Space Shipbreaker at all appealing? I mean, I played that on stream for a few hours and it got very boring very fast. You just do the same thing over and over and over on like the same frickin' spaceship. Dishonored 2. I was not a huge fan of Dishonored 1 even. Have I seen the Core Decay announcement trailer? No. Let's hope this is safe for work. "3D Realms." Is this Quake engine? What is this? It looks like Quake. Which would be very ironic. It's Unity Pacific. So, a lot of people are making these retro shooters, right? Of the ones that are coming up, Proteus looks the most rock and roll of them. Like, that trailer didn't show me why I want to play it, right? Which doesn't mean it's not a good game, but it just said, hey, here's a game that kind of looks like Quake. It's like, all right, but other games are doing that as well. And so, like, what do I do in the game that's different from the other ones, right? Not Proteus with a T, Prodeus with a T, with a D. And I told them not to name it that because people would confuse it with Proteus with a T, but they didn't listen, so whatever. Let's see. Oh, they had a trailer in the PC gaming show. It's probably very gory, but we'll show it, right? It's like they have like actual sprites and stuff, or sprite-like rendering. I forget. Yeah, so a lot more like blood and gore kind of things. You get the idea. So dev streams on Twitch, yeah. Okay. How about if I go back to programming, like it says in the stream title? Wouldn't that be a good thing for everybody? All right. So if I change this back, what we're trying to make work now is the following thing, so that you don't require anything else. We want to be able to say interface, whatever. And we actually don't need, like, this is, okay, hold on. There's several things wrong here. Like, why is this autocast in here? That's weird. That, oh, because, okay, never mind. Because it inherits from IUnknown. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, okay. I get it. So we're going to do this. We're going to put a no check in here so that we remember to delete this. Oh, he even called this IUnknown UUID to prevent. Oh, so we actually could do the using. Except maybe vtable would conflict. I don't know. We could go back and try that if we decide. Okay. All right. So this one, we just want to do this. And yeah, it doesn't like that. It's weird that it's reporting this first. All right, let's just see. We've got our old breakpoints here. Okay, so missing, what, I wrote this not even that long ago and I don't remember. All right, so if it's an interface, well, same number still. All right, so we're gonna go here and see what's going on. Gotta get my chat window up. Do I think delegates are bad for performance if heavily relied on? Yes, certainly. Okay, implements interface. Whoops. Wrong window. Okay, so we have our source thing, which is called should be balance here. Right, query interface. Now we should have a query interface. Right? IXDXGI factory, it's got a scope. Oof, this is not good. Okay. This only has 2 members in it. It's waiting on inserters. Okay. So the problem is, out of order compilation, it's the bane of our existence. This thing is not ready. So if you look at the queued, it's in the size pipe. The size pipe for structs is where the members get figured out. So until this is done with the size pipe, we can't do this operation that we're trying to do. So we have a yield upon here? Yeah, okay. So we could say because we need to look at all the members, the target type header needs to have passed pipe size exclamation point. Okay. If why am I trying to type in this shitty editor? God damn it. Because I'm stupid. Yeah. False. Okay. Really? Oh no, it's not the target type. It's the source type. In this case, we actually need both. Let's put these together. Saurus well, everybody, that's great. So, well, let's just try building the game with that. Still debug compiler because we haven't put this in the release compiler yet. If delegates aren't the best way to append logic to certain events, how would you generally approach this while keeping code clean and modular? That's your problem is obsession with trying to keep the code clean and modular. That is the wrong thing, okay? You can't. You can't. In the sense that it always happens that some of the things that you want to deal with are not orthogonal to other of the things. That's just the nature of problem solving. And so this idea that people teach you in school Like, I would say the flaw in the question is where you say append logic. You can't append logic in the general case. That's just not how it works. Okay? So this idea that you're going to have events and things respond to events and they do the perfect thing and then you add more handlers that'll also do the perfect thing, that works for toy programs. It doesn't work in the real world. Sorry. It's just not how it is. You're trying to over-modularize, is what I would say. Is delegate the same thing as function pointer? Yeah, basically. Wow, chat got super quiet once I started programming. When we're all talking about states in the European Union, everybody has a lot to say. But when the subject is programming, nobody's got anything to say. Maybe that's good. Maybe that means people are working. Whoops. I hit. You can't tell in Windows what window is foreground, so I always hit like F5 on the wrong window, and then it wipes chat out. Sorry, everybody. Okay. So this compiles, so we can get rid of all this stuff. Does not prefer this function when called with a pointer I unknown. Well, whatever. We can actually test if that's still true. But first, let's do release build, and we'll compile the game with this in release build and all these things. Oh. Your professional background is corporate time and attendance program. I don't know what corporate time and attendance program means. Like, what is that? You make a thing where people check in for work? Like, what? Right, time and attendance games. Okay. I would say that no, the skills that you have do not translate to making games at all. It's going to be very, very different. However, that doesn't mean you can't go make games. It just means be ready to learn a lot of new things. Like, if you already can program some, that's good, right? That bodes well, but just be ready to find out that this is a whole different kind of software and that you would just have other things to learn in order to do it successfully, but that's fine. If we're not learning, then we're not learning, and that's not so good. Attendance, please. Yeah. You work on a device that people clock in and out. Like an actual physical device? Or like a web page kind of a thing? It's an Android-based clock, and you have to keep employee information synced with the server information. I see. So this is like literally a thing on the wall, and people go in and like touch screen check in, and then it tells the server that they have done that or something. You would imagine isn't the case as much with games. Oh, it totally is. So like a lot of games do like client server communication, right? Especially the biggest games right now, you know, Fortnite kind of things or all that. But you will find that it's very, very different from the kind of thing that a program like that will do. The structure, because just when you have to be very high performance about it, the structure becomes very different. C++ 20 is approved. All right, well, it's still the year 2020, so that's good, I guess. You have to write it in such a way that when you leave, it can be easily picked up, which you imagine isn't the case as much with games. Well, we always do try to do that. Like any game studio that's sane does not want you to write banana cakes code that nobody can figure out when you leave, right? So yeah, we definitely want things to be understandable and maintainable. However, you know, first they have to work and be good, right? And sometimes doing both of those things is harder than we wish, right? Especially under time constraints. But no, the aesthetic of keeping code understandable by other people is deeply appreciated everywhere. You talk about performance, but look at Rust or PUBG. It is true that PUBG has pretty bad performance when it comes to like networking quality. It's still like 100 times better than what a web dude would put together at his first attempt. Like there's low performance and then there's low performance. Like they're just two different universes. A senior developer on Twitter said that writing clean code is a waste of time and instead more tests should be written since the code would be rewritten anyways. I mean, well, yes and no. I would say that depends on context. It depends on where you are in development and what you're doing. And I didn't see the full thing that the dude was saying, so I can't really comment. Do I use all my fingers for typing? Yes. You feel like using the pinky is not good for your wrists long term? It's probably due to the way that you're holding your wrists then. Also, you just want to be relaxed while you type. If you're like tense, you're going to amplify the problems that you have. People who call themselves senior developers tend to have weird opinions. Yeah, I was a senior programmer when I was 27, 28, 20 years ago. So, yeah, whatever. The word senior is super vague. You're meteor now. I don't know what meteor means. Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to understand about senior programmer is titles like that. Making a title sound more impressive is a way of paying somebody with something besides money, right? And so companies will tend to do that. They will call all their junior programmers senior programmers if it makes those programmers feel better and not need as much money. Any advice on how to position your wrists? You want your wrists to be straight. Okay, so like, I mean, it's a little weird because people's hands are shaped weird, but like this is approximately straight. It's a little bit weird because I'm holding my hand up, right? If it's like this, that's bad, right? If it's like that, that's bad. If it's like that, that's bad, right? You don't want any of these. You want like this. Now the thing is, most keyboards, especially laptop keyboards, are too don't give you a correct typing surface to position your wrists, right? So a lot of the time when people are typing, their wrist will be like this. That's very bad as well. You want it like that. And so either you want the discipline to hold it like that, or you want something below the keyboard that you can rest your wrists on a little bit. I do that. I have like this pad below my keyboard. It's not as high as it should be, right, for my wrist to be in the best place, but it's higher than it would be otherwise, right? So like if your wrists are on the desk while you're typing on a keyboard, that is super bad. It also makes the person feel like it's progressing in their career. Yeah, which is how you reward people, right? Like, you know, you could give them a bigger raise or a smaller raise and a bigger title, right? That said, I mean, all these web programmers make like 5 times as much as they actually should or more. But yeah, that's the technique that's being used. Glad you enjoyed Indie Game the movie. I was only in that movie for like 5 minutes, but yeah. Your wrists were both on the desk and bent to the sides. Yeah, you want to fix that. And, you know, so some laptop keyboards are too small. I don't know if you're using a laptop or a desktop, but you really want a desktop size keyboard, even if it's a laptop, in terms of the spacing of the keys. It varies a little bit because people have different hand size. For me, a desktop size keyboard is honestly a little bit too small, but I don't have the option of getting a bigger keyboard, right? But like people start making, you know, 13, 12, 11-inch laptops and the keyboards are just smushed in there. They're terrible. They're very bad for you. For wrist issues, you had to correct your shoulder location, pulled back, not slouching, so your wrist won't try to rotate and can stay flat on the keyboard. Yeah, I mean, that's what most physical therapists will tell you to do. I have not had success with physical therapists being able to address my particular problems ever, so I don't trust them particularly much. Maybe that's just for the class of problems that I historically have had. I don't know. If you want more money, follow the money and do web. Games don't make money, web does. Well, web is going to collapse. I don't know when. It might take 10 years, but web is going to collapse so hard that most web programmers will be out of work. So, you know, it depends. And AAA games won't? No, they won't. AAA game type of skills are going to be increasingly in demand over the next 10 years. And I think web may start collapsing within 10 years. I don't think it'll completely collapse within 10 years, but it may start to shrink in this deflationary spiral kind of way. Can I elaborate on web collapsing? Yeah, it takes 20 times as much effort as it should to do anything on the web, and that's going to have to get cleaned up. And also, there's just this culture of people not spending most of their time actually working, and that's going to have to get cleaned up. And that process will start before too long, I think. But it'll start subtly and slowly. It may have already started. Like coronavirus may have kicked that off a little bit. AI developers are on the rise. That is true. Content generally is going to collapse. Too many games, movies, social media. Yeah, I agree with that. The only way for web to collapse is if the browser collapses. No, it'll just... you'll have some kind of better system that does what people are spending 90% of their time doing, you know? Like what web programmers spend most of their time doing is useless busy work that is not actually objectively necessary in order to create the functionality, right? It's just dealing with a bunch of weird conventions by some other software that they're trying to use that are there because of some other weird conventions by some other software that they're trying to use, right? If you just strip all that crap out, you can be tremendously more efficient. And I think that'll happen slowly over time. Currently transitioning from a web developer to a site reliability engineer. However, you have an interest in OS development and game development. Should you lurking those sooner, or would you say SRE is safe? You know, I don't have a good feeling for how many site reliability engineers there are. What would I say about that? I don't know if that's safe or not. I would say it's probably a little bit unsafe, but it's more safe than web programmer, right? It's more safe than like, you know, front end or back end or full stack web programmer. Simply because the number of servers will probably keep going up over time, you know? Because nobody knows how to program. But you have, so operating system development and game development, I mean, those are big, but each of those is a really big topic. I wouldn't discourage you from learning any of that stuff if you wanted to. It's just like, what do you want to do with your life, right? Feels weird when you're a web-based game developer. Yeah, get out of that. If web collapses, then why would you need servers? No, the web won't collapse in terms of existing. The web will continue to exist and be used more even than it is today. When I was saying the web is, I was saying that web programming jobs are going to collapse. Eventually. I don't think it'll happen super soon. Well, except slowly and subtly. Like, I think it's already started to happen just a titch. But you know, I think, I would say there's 40% odds that 10 years from now, most programmers will be able to say, oh, obviously there's a collapse underway in that job sector. Which means there's more than 40% odds that it's actually happening to some degree, right? And just not everyone sees it. Why do I have 1 plus in line 4164? I don't know. I didn't write this. 1 plus in line 4164. I don't see any pluses. Oh, wait, here. I see. Why is that a plus? I'm willing to believe it might be a typo. I underestimate how self-sustaining useless jobs are. No, I don't actually. I mean, like IBM is still in business, for example. Although they are laying people off finally, but that took a long time. Like these things happen. Like that's why I'm giving it potentially. I think it's guaranteed that this happens. Let me put, or close to guaranteed that this happens. Is the question is just what's the time frame, right? And the reason I say 40% in 10 years is because I think the time frame could be a lot longer. That's all. So I'm expecting better web tools to come around and deprecate most developer work. I wouldn't exactly phrase it that way, but Yes, something like that. Ever thought of writing a book with good coding practices? I just have so much to do right now. Let's try changing this to an or. Okay, hold on. I don't think that has anything to do with what we just did. Oh, you know what? We didn't rebuild the release compiler. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, it was this second one. I changed this. Undeclared identifier. Did I comment out too much? IUnknown underscore v table. Oh, it's capital T. See, when I so I have my personal convention, which is only ever capitalize the first level, even if it's an acronym or whatever, because that way you don't have to know the meaning of anything. You don't have to know if it's a full word or not a full word or whatever. It's always capital first letter, lowercase everything else, because then I never have to think about it at all. But for DirectX interface code, right, you want to follow their conventions. I actually don't think that the underscore vtable part is there. That's probably something we added, but IUnknown is definitely spelled like this. And so if you're going to add that, you should probably be consistent with that. And, whatever, man. All right, so that's great. Okay, let's go back to the plus. Put that in there. Make sure the game still runs. I take the time to stream anyway. Yeah, I mean, streaming is fun. It's a good way to keep variety going. Because like sometimes I program and don't stream, and sometimes I program and do stream, and it feels different, right? DirectX. Well, we this particular DirectX I think is mostly being used for like direct input and then some utility stuff. I don't remember exactly how it's used, honestly. But no, we're switching to Vulkan right now we're switching to DX12, sorry, from GL. And I'm actually not sure where we are in that process right now. We could try running the DX12 version just to see after we check this in. Let's run the tests. Guessing DX12 over Vulkan because of console support. Sort of. No, I mean, we have to do a bunch of APIs anyway. So what it really is what do we want to use and debug on personally? You know, like the question is, what is our primary API that we use during development, right? And DX12 probably seemed better than Vulkan for that. Oh, let's put this no change on. Okay. So that's great. No check-ins. Okay, we actually want to put this. Actually, there's not much use in, because this test case would have been using the multiple inheritance thing, and we made safe release not use that. But what we should do is make a test case with just some other function that does the multiple inheritance thing. Yeah, like Windows 7 is probably not that good to support now, but like by the time this game comes out, it'll be the future. You got to think about that. It'll be the future. Like, how many more years are you going to run Windows 7? You've seen me write a lot of Sokoban code in these streams that have you switching shaders, pushing geometry, etc. Will that code change when we switch renderers? Ideally, it wouldn't. It probably will not change, right? Usually what you do in a game, and this approach works very well, is you decide what your game needs to do, which is like those routines that I tend to call that you mentioned. So you pick those, and then you just make implementations for those in the back end, right? So that's like the layer of communication between you and the graphics API. And yeah, like because that's tailored to your game specifically, you probably don't have to change it very much. The cases when you would change it are like, oh, we thought we would be able to do this kind of operation quickly or atomically or something on all these APIs, but maybe on these couple APIs, it's better to break it up into pieces or something. Like sometimes you discover that kind of a thing, but usually it's fine and you don't need to change it very much. Because like rendering works the same way on all this hardware, right? It's just mostly arbitrarily different API. I mean, implementation details of the hardware can be different, but the rendering paradigm is the same, right? And things that are very fast or very slow are mostly the same across hardware, within reason. EOL doesn't mean it'll stop running. Yeah, but it means people probably don't buy video games for it. Like anyone who's seriously buys video games on Windows is probably not running Windows 7 at this point. That's just how it is. It's sad. I thought Windows 7 was better than Windows 10, but it's just, you can't run it now. Seriously. Oh, hello, rating people. 32 rating people who eat strawberries or look like strawberries or hack into strawberries with a hacksaw. I don't know, but something like that. Hello, people. You're running Windows 7 and still buying games. Like high-end games? And do they work? And will you be doing that in like 2 years from now? You were recommended this channel. Okay, well, thanks for showing up. Welcome, everybody. All right, so for the people who just showed up, we've just been fixing bugs in a compiler, and so we just fixed some. Whoa! I'm in the wrong window. Stop! Alert! Okay. So we're going to now do this thing. So now when we compile, let me close a couple things. It's closing. It's closing. Let's close Remedy for now. We're not using it right now. Let's close this thing. It's going to open itself again. All right, that's good. Okay, so when we run the compiler, we have this thing that says warning, message exporter still has 999 deferred exports remaining at the end of compilation. What that is there's this compilation pipeline where as things get built by the compiler, messages about them get sent to your metaprogram, and they get sent in a certain order, right? They get ordered so that things only get told to your metaprogram when everything that they refer to has already been given to your metaprogram, all right? Now, well, if they can't be sent yet because something that they refer to is not completed, right, then they wait in this little waiting area in the message exporter. And what this says is, oh, we finished compiling, but there's still 999 things waiting in that area, which sounds like a lot. It's not really a lot because, how many things are there total? Tens of thousands at least, right? But any number greater than 0 is incorrect because it means we didn't actually tell your metaprogram about some things that exist, which for some kinds of programs could cause you to do the wrong thing. And so it's time to fix this. Now, there could be at least 2 different reasons why this is happening. One is just our check about whether they've become ready isn't working for some reason. And so after we defer them, they never get woke up or something. The other might be, there's at least 3. The other might be maybe there's a genuine bug somewhere else where something isn't getting through, and then people depending on that don't get through. Or the third one is there might be a genuine circular dependency where we have a bunch of things waiting on other things and they're just piled up. And if that's the problem, we need to make some kind of cycle detection code, which I had hoped to avoid. Maybe we can avoid it in a certain way. Anyway, so the first step will be to just investigate this and see what's going on. But the 0th step is going to be for me to make more tea. So, are there any questions about what I was just saying as I queue up the next tea? Like questions about what we're doing here and so forth. The water is still heating up. I don't see questions. I don't see. It'll help me spot them if you at me with them. What tea? We are having Hardy & Sons Hot Cinnamon Spice Loose Leaf Tea, which, by the way, I have had the bagged tea on stream before, and the bagged tea for some reason is just like a little bit, it's not as strong, but the loose leaf version, like, man, it's really strong and delicious. So, yeah. If the program compiled, then those things hanging in there may not be important. Well, they're definitely not code, right? So the thing is, the way the pipeline is set up, messaging happens before, before like outputting machine code and stuff. So if they were code, it wouldn't link. So they're probably, like weird declarations or something. They might even be things where the policy is that we don't transmit those, because some things that correspond to implementation detail kind of stuff, because we have like an external like conceptual API for like, if you're writing a meta program, this is the way that data will be delivered to you, and that's decoupled from the internal implementation so that we can change the compiler and not break your meta program, right? And so it could be things that we're not supposed to send you anyway. Like, I don't even know yet, right? We haven't looked into it. How does debug build for the language work? You believe you used to compile with C? That was a really long time ago. We don't do that. We are, for our backend, we're writing an object file, and for LLVM, we're just telling LLVM to write debug info. Okay, we've got to not oversteep the tea. That's our next challenge. What are my thoughts on C++? It's bad. Does the engine support PBR? Yes. How do you write your own object file? It is just a file with bytes in it. It is like any other file. The bytes are in a particular order. You can look up the spec. At what level do metaprograms operate? Do they manipulate the AST? Yes, they operate on type-checked ASTs. So you know what all the identifiers map to, and you know the type of everything. Because that's the most useful. Like when you have a function, or when you have like function overloading and stuff, you don't want to be like guessing whether a particular call is calling the function that you think it is or not. You want to know, right? And so that's why it operates at that level. How long have I been programming? 38 years. A minute. For the x86 backend, did I handwrite the optimizer? Yes, I handwrote all 0 lines of the optimizer. We do not optimize. Yeah, you can imagine being someone who's programmed for 38 years. I love it when people with 2 years of experience show up and like try to talk crap to me. It's really great when that happens, which is often. Or like especially on Twitter. I also did not write all 0 lines. That's true. Am I happy with the performance of the compiler so far? Yes, although the long-term plan is that the performance will be much higher than it is now as it gets parallelized fully. It is not parallelized fully, so it is slower than it will be. All right. So let's just break at the point where we print this. It's my favorite strategy. Still has percent. All right. So this is just a function that like I made this routine because I knew there was a problem, and I was like, well, let's just report the problem, and then someday I will deal with it. Now this doesn't happen on our little test program, I think. So now this is going to be weird because there's like frickin' 900 things or 1,000 things. So we're just going to look at a few of them randomly and see if there's any obvious pattern. Oh, has it been a long enough time on the T? Would Gentoo, with its memory renaming, run my optimized code faster? I don't know. I do not know. Would the current macro system allow you to make your own switch syntax? I mean, okay, so the macro system here is not real. Okay, so some programming languages have the macro system be a thing where it's like at the token level, where you use it to invent new syntax. That is not how the macro system works here. I didn't feel like that was very important. So our macro calls always look like function calls. All right. So, so if that's what you mean, then no, they're not language syntax extension macros. Like I think Rust does that or something. I don't even know. They're more like Lisp macros where you invoke them using a known syntax and then the macro expands. But then certainly you could expand into a switch statement, yes. Have I written any Rust? Not really. You thought this, but 50-50 on if it would work. Let me see. Switch. That probably would work, but I have no idea why you would do that, right? I mean, unless you were going to, run some processing on the code argument. Getting close to releasing your game in early access on Steam. You worked very hard for almost 2 years and are at a good point, but the main problem is to understand the best way to market the game and become visible. It's different for every game. I cannot give general advice on that topic. I mean, definitely do something, but what that is, I don't know. Okay. So we just got this array called deferred exports. It's got 999 problems. What's the first one? This is deferred export. Okay. It's got a declaration. This is the exported thing. So to know what it is internally, we can look at queued arrow expression. It's a lambda, really? That surprises me because I said it probably wasn't code. So this is probably actually this doesn't hold things up in the pipeline, guys. This doesn't hold things up in the pipeline. So what I said about it definitely not being code is not right. All right, let's see what this is. It's a polymorph result. Okay. So when we do this, this data tells us some things about what we're waiting on. Let's look at that. Pointer cursor 0, there are 2 pointers. So the first one is what? It's a declaration. That also completed compilation. I think these are parallel. Oh no, they're not. They're different. So we have a declaration. Let's look at it. It's an argument of the struct. Okay. That is not supposed to get exported. But we might not be trying to export it. In that sense. Okay, so it could be that every single thing that we polymorph has its arguments collecting here. That could be what's happening. So this is bound to a type. We can see what that is. It's an integer type. There's no legit reason that I can see so far why this would not continue to be compiled. So it's probably just that we're rejecting it for some reason. All right, let's start looking at the code a little bit. That's the only reference to something being a struct argument in this whole file. Let's just see what happens. I mean, this isn't cute, is it? It is. Weird. That's why. Okay. So there's a point at which we filter out some declarations. We say things like, hey, if they belong to a struct, don't do it. Can I fix this, please? Oh, God. Emacs is psycho. All right. Oh, come on, bro. Okay. Whatever. right now for brain energy calories, you can have a little snack. You've got to make sure that your brain energy calories are supplied. You don't like Reinterpret Cast? Well, I don't know what to say about that. Weird. It's like salted. Interesting. Salami and cheese. No, it's copa, or however you pronounce that. I'm not Italian. I don't know. You always considered sweets the ultimate brain food. I do too, but I'm getting kind of fat again, so I have to avoid that. At least for a week or two. Don't worry, we'll probably bust out some kind of cookies or something before the end of the stream. Okay. So let me just follow through. We say grab and handle one batch. And then we say export cube. This is the thing that actually starts doing work. If it's a declaration, we just call do export on it. Interesting. So we literally export every single day. That makes sense. Okay, so the question is, what happens when we try to export this one? All right, so in export queued, we'll say we'll put it in here because hopefully that'll cost us less in terms of falling asleep waiting for this to happen. That's weird. Okay. So there's a level above this. So what happened is we never hit our breakpoint. And I believe the most likely reason that we never hit our breakpoint is that we filtered this out higher up. So there's a loop in pipes here. See, we have this should skip message export. And well, if we do that, okay, yeah. So the problem is we don't want a top level message for that guy. We do want it to be exported though. So what we want to do, instead of yielding, more raiders. Wow, you all are showing up, trying to interrupt my lunch with your raiding, your ridiculous. I don't know what you're thinking. I may not eat well. Rip. I guess these projects will never get done. Oh well, it was fun. Life was fun while it lasted. All right, so for all the new peoples in the house, we're working on a compiler, and in the compiler, it does polymorphism, which is our version of generics, which you may be familiar with, or templates, or whatever from other languages. And it's complicated, man. I gotta explain. So, so you can have a meta program that watches over your program while it's being compiled and like laughs at it and stuff, or makes sure it's okay and just checks in once in a while and says, "Hey, program being compiled, are you depressed because of coronavirus? Can I keep you company?" Like it does that kind of thing, right? And so there's a system that tells that meta program all about what's going on with the program. And not everything passes through that system correctly. And we just figured out why, or one reason why. There might be multiple reasons. And I'm thinking about the best way to fix that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. We have our magic lamp. Wait, is the lamp in view? Am I blocking it? Oh, we have our magic lamp. See, as long as we have the magic lamp, all problems will be solved. That's really it. Okay, so the deal is, this, or my theory is, this should skip message export is happening. And that is giving us grief. And there are two ways to handle it. One way is to detect it in the export process. So down here, we're probably checking. Yeah, this is the thing that's dinging us right here. Let's verify this. We can actually set a breakpoint and add deferred pointer to see where it's coming from. But it's coming because this thing being queued is supposed to mean, hey, we're supposed to wait for it. And so one thing we could do is just to put a check for this in here, and if that passes, say don't wait for it. That's kind of dicey though. It's dicey and spicy. And the reason is because maybe that would wait on other things and we need to wait on that. So actually, maybe we move this whole check into here and just say export it, but don't send a message to the meta program. That could be fine, except that maybe some of this stuff we legit don't want to export for performance reasons. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay. We need to... I don't know. This is a performance flag. This is like, just don't send messages for most things in the program. I don't think we actually use that. Maybe it's a, let's see. Oh, we actually, okay. We enable it if we need it and disable it for fast builds and stuff. So we really should try to maintain this. Are we effing? My internet has been unreliable, to say the least, lately. Unreliable. All right. Well, I'm glad we're back. So, the thing is, if we're skipping these, then maybe we don't really. Yeah, let's try putting it at, I don't know. We're going to have to comment this heavily either way. But we're going to try in here. Actually, no, I said we were going to verify why it was happening. So let's do that. So this one, right? Oh, no. We don't want the expression. We want the declaration. Oh, no. Don't cast it. Oh, no, this is the declaration right here. So we get the serial number of that declaration. Boom. And we will break in add deferred pointer and verify that what I think, that my story that I'm telling myself is actually what's happening. It is a very good skill to know enough about your system and just jump to conclusions about what the problem is. In fact, just like we have a chai cam, I think we should have a jump to conclusions mat cam, except I don't have a jump to conclusions mat. That's a very good skill, but if you just assume that your conclusion about what's happening is correct, you can go off and start doing stuff and then realize that really was not the deal. So we're verifying. We jumped to conclusions and now we're verifying. Well, why is there no call? Oh, because we're running. I thought we were broke already. All right, here we are. Yep, it's in here. And so this hangs us completely, because if we add a deferred pointer, right, that just says keep checking this and see if it ever gets exported, but it'll never get exported, right? What we could do is put it in the frickin' queue. The thing is, we submit batches. Ugh. Yeah, we definitely don't want to just export it. All right. Let's see. Whoops. Should skip. All right. Do we even have a... Wait, is that on interp? Yeah. If should skip message export interp, comma, source x queued, we do something here. We're going to say no check-in, explain this very clearly, please. Okay, but what should we do? I don't like any of the solutions that I'm thinking of because they all add some complexity. I mean, they're maybe not too bad, but like in grab and handle one batch, oh, wait. So we remove stuff. Okay, hold on. We call export queued. If we're exported, we add it to decals. So why are we doing queueds down here? That's probably just for debugging. Like what? This is like wrong, dude. Oh my God, this is so wrong. Oh my God, this is so wrong. Okay. This is so wrong, I think. What? Stop it. Okay, so the problem is, this is everything that we were iterating over, including the stuff that's not ready yet. So we need to do this. First thing we're going to do is add this and make sure it doesn't break anything. Okay, so hopefully that does not break anything. I mean, if I can deal with this. I guess that is. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, this is elsewhere. It's Saint elsewhere. You spy some RAII. I don't. Okay. Well, let's try our tiny test program. That works. Bigger program. That works. Oh, well, let's run the tests. I want to be pretty paranoid and make sure that this, interesting. Okay. However, I don't think this means I broke something. Because, like we've been saying, stuff is all hung up in there, right? So we were probably incorrectly letting this stuff compile, even though its things were like hung up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to unfix. I believe that what I did was correct, but I'm going to unfix it for a second and put a no check in on that. Just so that we could try to get to this problem here. All right. Okay. So instead of actually using queues that are ready down here, we're going to say back to this. Okay, and then after we fix this other things won't flush problem, we'll try turning that back on and see if it works. And it may work, or it may not work. It may have problems. May have problems. What is this code? Game dev class lib or something else? I don't think I've ever been accused of having much class or being a lib. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It might be time for iced tea next. Okay, so we have to decide what happens here, and I think what's going to happen there is we want to add a batch like okay. So we're going to have a batch. It says export batch. Batch to queue. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to put a no check in. We have to explain this also because it's going to be annoying. Okay, so here, if we don't have batch to queue, is it called queues? Yep, to message.add. Okay. We're still not doing anything with that, but let's make sure that compiles and then it runs. Oh, it doesn't compile. 545. Okay. Not enough arguments. Does get memory new take an interp? Yeah. All right. Okay, well, probably runs. All right, are there any questions about what has been happening? I will grab an iced tea otherwise, or I'll grab an iced tea while you type your amazing and insightful questions. If you at me, sometimes people say don't at me, bro, but if you at me, then I will see them more clearly. Also, in terms of programming brain food, we now have the highly healthy Hickory Farm Snow Mints because it's very hot outside and a little snow will make you better. Can we ban people from mentioning Rust or Node or NPM here? Maybe. I mean, if it gets too bad, I haven't streamed in a while, so I don't know. But if it gets too bad, we might do that. I mean, I wouldn't ban people for that, but like, I could see, you know, deleting comments that mention those things automatically. Would you recommend batching draw calls by their shaders or by their materials? Well, you kind of need both. So the deal is, you just want to minimize the amount of changing things that you do. The thing is, switching shaders is a big change. Switching materials is probably a smaller change, but still significant. You might be changing a large amount of data to swap between materials. So I would, you know, typically you might sort by shader first and then materials second or something like that. It's hard to say. Rust is not bad. No, but it's annoying that everyone just says the same thing about it all the time. You've noticed I seem to use raw pointers over ref counted alternatives. Is there a reason for this, such as performance? Yes, A, performance. B, ref counting is just not a good way to do things, generally speaking. And again, if it is good programming advice, then why is all the software that uses it so bad? I encourage you to ask that question about everything. If all these rules people are telling you about what you're supposed to do are so good, why is software so bad and not really advancing or getting better? Okay. So that didn't mess anything up. And so now what we will do is, after we do all this stuff, we will say if batch to queue where do we get a batch? Let's look in the header, right? All right, I don't know. Message exporter right there. Export batch. Okay, this is awkward. We're just going to make another overload of this. That's fine. I don't like multiple overloads, but in this case, why not? All right, so this is the sort of thing that we might be able to clean up later. Like, you know, this here is becoming the sort of vestigial overload that I don't like. But whatever. Can always change that. Okay. Okay, hold on. Feel like I didn't do something. Yeah. We definitely didn't do something. Okay. Well, it runs and we still have 999 deferred exports. Are you kidding me? Well, it's not that surprising. I suspect we just don't ever do this, right? I suspect this never happens, for example. Let's delete our old breakpoints. Oh boy. I hope I left the right one. Yep. Okay. Any thoughts on programs and program editing being still text editing? I mean, people have to have good ideas about what the graphics are supposed to do for you. And usually I don't see that. That's the thing. Yeah, we never get there. So it seems to me that we never get here. Let's verify that. Oh, all right. So, for some reason, this isn't true, which is weird. Okay, hold on. Uh-oh. The candies are out. I'm just eating them. Well, we're going to go back to the message down here. We accidentally deleted that breakpoint. And then, way back in add deferred pointer, we're going to break there again. And this should give us more information. Well, we should at least see that this didn't happen. I'm not sure if that's the right place to put a breakpoint to solve the problem, but okay. Here we go. So this is weird. So we're going to put a breakpoint there. Let's just do that. See what happens. What? Wait, we didn't hit any of our breakpoints. Okay. We're looking at 5440. We just got a different number this time. That happens sometimes. Let's just try it again. Okay, here we go. This is going to be false, right? Yeah. Why? What? Why? It's key type. It's the argument to a struct, etc. Okay, let's go back here. Go in there. It's a declaration. Oh, we don't have skip declaration. Really? Wait, what? Which? Okay. Oh, because we have checking turned on. So we don't have that flag set. So actually, we never get here, but nevertheless, this is the problem. It's just, so the problem now is that somebody else is filtering us out. So we're going to change this. Okay. So the problem is there are a few places that cause things to exit early, and this was one of them. Whoops. Okay, another one is just be super paranoid here. Cloud block. Right. Huh. We're in build bytecode. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's like multiple levels of bad happening. So the thing is, I knew this was going to happen when I typed the code like 20 minutes ago. The problem is this thing was removed from the stream. And the problem is we're adding it back into the stream for the whole compiler. So we're saying, hey, export this thing. It's like, okay, fine. We're exporting the thing. And then we're passing it on to like bytecode builder and stuff, which it's not supposed to go to, right? Because those are the next stages in the pipeline. So that's all bad. So I need to reevaluate if this is the way I want to solve the problem. How's it going, everybody? How is it going? What should I do? Okay, here's what I can do. I mean, this is getting more and more gross, but we're going to do that. Like, see, as things get more complicated, I don't like it, but we got to solve the problem, and then we'll think about if there's a better way. What's this called? Okay. So this increments async actions running by one when we called that. That's fine, I think. Okay. Like, this isn't going to work in the long term because we're flagging the whole batch. But the problem is, even though we're doing this currently, which is like the whole batch, we don't want that, right? We won't want that. But oh my God, dude. I do believe this will solve the problem. I'm just trying to think, because we're going to have to deal with this. We're going to have to do a whole other, going to have to do a whole other thing. Going to have to do a whole other thing. All right. Let's go ahead and put an if statement around this. Probably doesn't matter. So here we only want this if batch arrow this thing. problem is we just made some of our problem more annoying. Debug compiler takes time. Or maybe it's infinite looping. We'll give it 30 seconds because it's the debug compiler. You never know. Of course, I should have started counting. I feel like it's infinite looping. Probably we're doing all sorts of weird stuff now. We're upsetting the delicate balance of the force. Let's just see though. All right. Give it 10 more seconds. So, well, there's still stuff in the pipes. That's weird. What? Why? Oh, and nothing is passing the... All right, you know what? I think it might be time to take a brain break. This is becoming a hard problem. We've been at about 3 hours. We sort of like to do 3-hour chunks. That seems to be good for me. So I have two main courses of action. One is continue to debug the solution that I'm implementing here, which I do not totally love because it has issues. Two is do a different solution, or at least a variant of this solution. So right now I was doing this thing where I'm flagging a batch as, you know, wanting to go to messaging or not. I could do that as individual queues. Now the problem that I have though, because we have to fix, there's like two problems we have to fix, and I need to think about both of these for the solution. The problem is when we fix this one, we no longer necessarily have a one-to-one correspondence between stuff that comes in and stuff that goes out. And the problem with that, in terms of number of batches, problem with that is that the compiler increments and decrements an atomic in order to know when it's done. And if it's never done, that's one reason for it to infinite loop. That is not the thing that's causing it to infinite loop right now, I don't believe. But this could be a thing. And so if we make it so that it's not based on batches anyway, in that way, which doesn't totally make sense. So if we flag the queues instead, which we could do, like on a per queued basis, we could just check the queues. But in order to do that, we would want the compiler fully working with the atomic switched to count queues instead of batches. And so really what I want to do is back out the last part of this change for a minute. So that we're not flagging batches anymore. And then make the atomic work correctly, because that's a little bit scary anytime you do that, right? So then once that works correctly, I mean, I could even check this in with that changed and not finish the actual problem that gets things out of the queue, right? And then we can come back and say, okay, instead of flagging the batches, we're just going to have a batch. And if we put some in it because they wanted to get queued, that's fine. And then if we put some in it here because they're not ready, then that could happen as well, right? Except like I'm trusting the comment. That comment might be old, and maybe we don't ever return null. In fact, I want to investigate that. So I'm going to take a little brain break, and then we'll start up a stream again in a little while, and we'll start attacking this a little bit further. Any like final questions before we go out? What is the main reason I choose to make a programming language instead of an engine? What do you mean? We're doing both. We're doing both of those things. It's not instead, it's and. I don't know how long the break will be. Maybe probably at least an hour. It's hard to predict. Have I seen the game Manifold Garden? I believe I'm in the credits somewhere for the game Manifold Garden. As like, you know, playtester or person who helped fund it or something. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back later on. Disappear for a week. Could happen, but no, I'm going to try to come back tonight. Thanks, everybody.